Story recapped here. Today I'm going to explain an action, drama, and fantasy film called Immortals. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. In the Sibylline monastery, the maiden oracle Phaedra dreams about King Hyperion and tells the other priestesses that he's looking for the Epirus Bow to set the Titans free. The king also desires to rule over mankind, so they decide to pray, hoping for someone to save them all. Long ago, a war between the immortals happened in the heavens. Unfortunately, the Epirus Bow, a weapon of unimaginable power, got lost in the battle. At the same time, the Olympians declared themselves gods after winning, and the Titans were imprisoned in Mount Tartarus following their defeat. Eons pass, and Hyperion resolves to find the Epirus Bow with the help of Phaedra. Hyperion takes over the Sibylline monastery to take the oracle and pours wine over the priest, making it clear he doesn't care about the gods who idly stood by as his wife and children were stricken by disease. The king also refuses to be mocked by the gods again, but when he reveals his plan to release the Titans, the priest tells him it's not yet too late to end his madness, so Hyperion knocks over the torch to burn the priest, saying he will end the reign of the gods. Meanwhile, in Kolpos Peninsula, an old man talks to Theseus about his life and finding a wife. They also discuss what it really means to be a warrior, and Theseus says he draws his sword to protect those he loves. However, the old man wonders what will happen to the defenseless and weak, asking Theseus who will protect them, but Theseus doesn't answer his question. Concurrently, Theseus' mother, Ethra, receives poor treatment from other people since an unknown man violated her. Still, she remains to be kind, but Theseus hates seeing her suffer. Then, on their way home, Ethra tells Theseus she'll ask the gods to grant her grandchildren, but Theseus doesn't want to talk about that and only teases her. Moments later, Helios informs the villagers that Hyperion has seized the Sibylline monastery and says they must evacuate immediately. However, another soldier, Lysander, shouts that they don't stand a chance, only to be ignored by everyone. Soon, the people leave the village, but Icarus insults Theseus and his mother and says they can depart with the peasants the next day. Pissed, Theseus beats Icarus and some of the other soldiers before taking Lysander hostage. Then, Helios comes out to break up the fight, and Theseus says he'll only stop if his people will be protected too. So Helios promises he'll leave capable men for the caravan the following day, and Theseus finally releases a distressed Lysander. The man wants Theseus to be killed, but Helios just orders the soldiers to take him away. Once the soldiers are gone, Helios urges Theseus to join their ranks. Unfortunately, Theseus refuses, for he believes Helios and his men would have easily abandoned them. Afterward, Helios informs Lysander he's no longer part of their army and instructs him to travel with the peasants. A few minutes later, Theseus approaches the old man and asks where his things are, but the old man makes it clear he's not leaving. Then, that night, Lysander kills his fellow soldiers for being kicked out of the army, beheading one of them as if they've never been friends from the start. Meanwhile, the old man changes his appearance when he senses someone's watching him, revealing that he's actually Zeus. Zeus realizes that his daughter, Athena, is there to talk to him, and the goddess is worried since her father has been trying to influence Theseus for years. Athena wants to know why Zeus chose Theseus, so Zeus replies it's because he doesn't fear danger. Zeus also adds that Theseus only fears the failure to defend his loved ones, saying he's the only one who can lead mankind to defeat Hyperion. However, it still has to be Theseus' choice. Later that night, Lysander finds Hyperion's army and offers the king his service, but Hyperion is hesitant to have a traitor in his midst, and he sees that Lysander has nothing to offer him. Then, Hyperion orders one of his men to bring an injured Sibylline monk beside Lysander, saying monks of his order are unwavering in their obedience to the maiden oracle. He also reveals that the oracle can see where the bow rests, but when he asks where Phaedra is, the monk grabs a blade and threatens to kill himself. Unfortunately, Hyperion knows Sibyllines are forbidden to take a life under any circumstance, even their own. Refusing to speak, the monk cuts off his tongue, so Hyperion orders his underling to give the man to the beast and make him confess where the oracle is. Then, Hyperion has one of his warriors disfigure Lysander and make sure he will never have children. In the village, Theseus looks for the old man and remembers how they trained together, but it isn't long before Hyperion's army arrives, and Theseus witnesses some of the villagers get slaughtered. He also sees Ethra about to be stabbed by a soldier, so he moves quickly to save her, killing several of Hyperion's warriors before throwing a spear at the man who's about to end his mother's life. However, Theseus soon gets defeated, and when Hyperion shows up, he can only helplessly watch as the king slits his mother's throat. In Mount Olympus, the gods discuss Hyperion's atrocities and wonder if it's finally time to intervene. Sadly, Zeus forbids the gods to interfere in the affairs of men unless the Titans are released. Zeus wants mankind to use their own free will, so he reminds the gods that coming to the aid of men is punishable by death. Later on, Hyperion's prisoners are ordered to work in the salt mines. Seconds later, the maiden oracles arrive, and Phaedra has a vision when she unintentionally touches Theseus. Unfortunately, she isn't sure if Theseus will save mankind or help Hyperion. Then, she tells Theseus to stand fast when cloudless skies thunder. After that, Phaedra quietly talks to a thief named Stavros and says they must flee that place. Phaedra says those who are strong enough to fight must come, pointing out that they should take Theseus with them. So Stavros implies that Theseus has already given up on life since he didn't even drink some water. But Phaedra just tells him to be ready. That night, Phaedra reveals to the priestesses that Theseus is touched by the gods, before instructing them to summon the guards. At the same time, another prisoner, Darius, tells Stavros that only one of the priestesses is the true oracle, and the others are only there to protect her identity. He also adds that she's blessed with visions of the future, and if she were to be violated, the prophecy would be corrupted. Moments later, the soldiers notice what the priestesses are doing and approach them, only to be killed by the women. The prisoners also spring into action, and eventually, Phaedra escapes with Theseus and the other captives. Then, Hyperion learns about what happened and interrogates the priestesses, determined to know where the bow is. Hyperion also wants to know which one of them is the real oracle, but when he learns that one of them escaped, he instructs his warrior, Mondragon, to find her. Meanwhile, Theseus' group finds one of Hyperion's ships. Stavros wants to ambush it and head south, but Theseus says he'll take it north to Hyperion's camp at the monastery. They then head to the dock to fight Hyperion's soldiers and take over the vessel. At the same time, Ares, Athena, and Poseidon watch over Theseus, and the god of the sea makes sure the hero will succeed in his mission by diving into the water. At that moment, Phaedra remembers what she told Theseus about standing fast when the cloudless skies thunder, so they all jump back to the dock as Poseidon kills Hyperion's army with a huge wave. Afterward, Phaedra cleans herself to remove the oil on her body that spilled from the ship. Then, Phaedra reveals to Theseus that, in one of her visions, she saw a body wrapped in a shroud on a rock. She also adds that Theseus was holding the Epirus Bow while embracing Hyperion, but Theseus says that's impossible because the Mad King killed his mother. Upon hearing that, Phaedra realizes that Theseus must bury his mother, saying her faith demands it. Concurrently, Hyperion learns that Phaedra is traveling to Colpos with the prisoners and that she could be leading them to the bow. So, he orders Mondragon to send the beast to Colpos before setting an ambush in the pit. In the village, Theseus finally buries his mother and promises their family name will not die with him. Then, Theseus discovers the Epirus Bow hidden inside a huge rock, and he realizes it doesn't need arrows. However, someone suddenly throws a blade at Theseus, so he immediately hides and quietly looks around. Then, the beast that Hyperion sent, the Minotaur, shows up and attacks Theseus, so Theseus tries hard to fight back. Eventually, Theseus wounds the Minotaur using the blade, but the warrior whose helmet resembles a bull's head is too strong and easily beats him. Luckily, Theseus manages to get the blade from the Minotaur's leg, slashing and stabbing the big man before repeatedly hitting him with a club. Then, Theseus finally decapitates the Minotaur, but he's unaware that one of Hyperion's soldiers has killed Darius. Stavros tries to protect Phaedra and the monk from Hyperion's men, but he soon surrenders when he realizes there's nothing more he can do. Upon witnessing this, Theseus uses the bow to kill the soldiers, before throwing the Minotaur's head into the sea. That evening, Phaedra tends to a wounded Theseus and informs him he was poisoned. She also tells Theseus he will defeat Hyperion, and eventually, Phaedra lets Theseus take her maidenhood. Of course, that means Phaedra will no longer have visions, but she now wants to see the world through her own eyes. Then, the following day, they march to the monastery. In Mount Tartarus, Hyperion prepares to make his next move. Meanwhile, Theseus' group reaches the monastery, where the monk realizes the priestesses are being kept inside a bull statue. So Theseus and Stavros help the monk destroy the bull, and once it breaks, Phaedra sees her dying sisters. After that, Theseus and Stavros follow the monk as he tries to attack Hyperion's soldiers. Sad to say, it's only a trap, and the king's hyena steals the bow while Mondragon slays the monk. Thankfully, Ares arrives and kills Hyperion's men, and when Athena shows up too, she gives Theseus and Stavros horses to reach Mount Tartarus. However, Zeus quickly learns what the other gods did and kills Ares for interfering in the affairs of men. But Zeus spares Athena, and then he tells Theseus that no god will ever again come to his aid. Zeus lets Theseus know he has faith in him, telling him to lead his people. With no time to waste, Theseus, Phaedra, and Stavros head to Mount Tartarus. Unfortunately, Hyperion already has the bow, and he can't wait to use it to release the Titans. Then, Hyperion asks Lysander about Theseus, so the disfigured man tells the king that an unknown man violated Theseus' mother. Meanwhile, Theseus informs Helios and Cassander that Hyperion is in possession of the Epirus Bow, saying they should seal the gate and prepare for war. Sadly, Cassander refuses to believe Theseus and only gets ready to negotiate with Hyperion. Then, Hyperion shows up at the gate and wishes to speak with Theseus, so the hero faces the Mad King and asks what he wants. The moment Hyperion removes his mask, Theseus realizes he just walked into a trap. Hyperion wants Theseus to join him, but Theseus refuses and walks back to join the other soldiers, instructing Helios to seal the gate. However, when Hyperion mocks him, Theseus becomes impatient and closes the gate himself. The next day, Helios and the other soldiers prepare for battle, but Hyperion easily breaks the gate using the bow, so Theseus tries talking to the soldiers as they panic. Then, Theseus leads them against Hyperion's army, and everything soon descends into chaos. At the same time, Hyperion kills Helios before decapitating Cassander. As the fight continues, Lysander comes at Theseus and quickly gets killed. Unfortunately, while Theseus is busy dealing with Hyperion's army, Hyperion is on his way to free the Titans. Then, Theseus and Stavros eventually find Hyperion, but it's already too late, for the Mad King uses the Epirus Bow to release the Titans. While the Titans escape, Stavros sacrifices himself to give Theseus a chance to flee. Fortunately, Zeus shows up with the other gods, telling the Titans they will never leave that place. Zeus then orders Theseus to find Hyperion, and once he leaves, the battle between the gods and Titans begins. Moments later, Hyperion surprises Theseus and tries to kill him. The king mercilessly stabs Theseus, proudly removing his mask as he watches the hero suffer. However, Theseus refuses to be defeated and fights back, but he struggles because of his wounds. To make things worse, the gods are starting to lose against the Titans. When Athena gets injured, Zeus immediately comes to her aid. Sadly, Zeus fails to save the other gods from dying, so he decides to destroy Mount Tartarus to contain the Titans. Concurrently, Hyperion prepares to finish Theseus off, but Theseus believes his death will make him a legend, and his deeds will go down in history. Then, Theseus stabs Hyperion's foot with a piece of metal and tries taking the king's knife away from him. It isn't long before Hyperion finds himself lying on the ground and inches away from death. And of course, Theseus relishes the moment he stabs and kills the king. As Zeus destroys Mount Tartarus, all the soldiers start to flee. Zeus then takes Athena and Theseus to Mount Olympus, and those who are left behind eventually die. Years later, Theseus' son, Acamas, learns of his father's deeds. However, he gets scared when he has a vision about a war in the heavens, but the old man says he shouldn't be frightened. The old man tells Acamas that he knew Theseus, and soon, it'll be the boy's time to fight against evil. Then, Phaedra calls her son, and when Acamas closes his eyes, he sees Theseus and the Olympians fighting against the Titans.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.